Hi, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. So I have this wonderful Swedish mother, and she turned 80 actually a year ago, and we made a whole Swedish party for her, and part of that was cutting out all these doll horses. So I had them on the fronts of tablecloths, and I had them on the tops of tablecloths, and I had them everywhere. So I had a whole bunch of them. So I decided that I would make them into quilts. And so I put one of these quilts together for her to give to her birthday this year, which she's really excited about getting, and I just had to wait to film it first. But anyway, what I want to talk to you about is this sashing. So today we're not actually talking about the quilt, we're talking about the sashing, because the sashing can add anything to a block. This block could have a heart or a flower or a sailboat or anything you wanted in it, and the sashing would make it pop. So what we're talking about today are sashing ideas, and periodically I'm going to try and give you new sashing ideas. And this one is so easy. You're going to love this. It adds so much to that quilt, but it's really, really easy. So what you're going to need to do this, to make this piece of sashing, I used 1.5" strips. Now I cut these myself, and I'm just going to sew together 2 blue ones and a white one. So they're 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to lay them right sides together and sew straight down the side, iron it open, and do the same thing on the other side. When you do that, what you're going to get is a piece that looks like this right here, and only it'll be the length of your strip. So then you're going to have your little block here, and you're going to measure your block to find out how long your block is. And your sashing is going to be cut exactly the same size as your block. Whatever center block that is, your sashing is going to be cut exactly that size. So I have one here that's cut, and then when you lay your quilt out, what you do is you're going to put one of these in between, you know, all the way across the rows. So here and here, and then you're going to put it here and here in between as you add the rows together. So let's go ahead and let me add a piece of sashing to the side of this so you can see how that's going to work. I just lay them right sides together and just take it over to the sewing machine and sew it down that side. So here we are at the end of this. Now let's go press this open. We just want to press it back. I got all my stuff spread all over here. And this is what you're getting here. It's like this. Then you'll put one on the other side and sew an additional square to that. For the 9 patch, I used my little extra pieces that were on the end of the strip. When I cut up on my strip, there's little pieces left. And I'm going to cut 2 1.5" strips. Everything is 1.5 inches. And the cool thing about that is that you can now get honey buns, and that the companies are cutting them again with the solids. And so, you know, if you don't want to cut, you can actually just get, you know, your own little honey buns that are already pre-cut if they come in the colors you want. You know, they didn't have one this color, and I wanted to do that. So back to our 9 patch. We've got our 2 outside pieces, or actually, this is just the opposite, isn't it? So here we have to sew an opposite strip together to make our 9 patch. Because our 9 patch here is the white, blue, white on the outsides with the blue, white, blue in the center. So keep track of that. I actually cut 2 of those, and I'll save one of those for the next block. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut 2 of these that are 1.5" strips. Make sure your end is straight. When you're dealing with pieces this little, you know, you do have to be a little careful making sure that your measurements are just right. All right. So now you see, we'll line this up like this, and you see how it's going to be a 9 patch. Let me scoot this right up here. You'll see how that's going to be a 9 patch, and you also see how it's going to match up with this and be just the opposite. So to sew this together, we're just going to lay these little sides right side together here and take it over to the sewing machine and sew that down. If you want, you can iron the middle part so the seams are going inward like this, and then this side so the seams are going outward, and they'll nest right up together. You can put a pin in there if you'd like. I'm just going to sew across here. It's a short little hop. There we go. And I like to press this down before I get on the other side because we're dealing with such small pieces. We want to make sure that it's pressed nice and flat. So now I have these two little pieces together, and we just look to make sure we're putting it on the right side. And it's going to go over here on this side, and we're going to sew that together. We'll just make sure our seams are lined up, and then we'll press it again. These are so adorable, these little 9 patches. With the 1.5" strips, they're just teeny. Isn't that the cutest little thing you ever saw? So now, when you get ready to put your bottom row on, what you're gonna do, here, let me lay this out a little bit for you over here. So just to recap on this sashing idea, your sashing is going to be cut the same size as your block. You're going to put a row together with your sashing rows in between your blocks. Then you're going to sew the next row where it's just sashing, cornerstone, and then you're going to sew this together, right sides together, and you're just going to sew 1/4 inch here, and then iron that open, and then you'll start on your next row like this, which will already have its sashing rows. So you want to sew your rows first with your sashing in between, and then you're going to add these sashing rows to it. This makes a really awesome sashing that just makes your quilts pop. And I hope you enjoyed this idea from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.